It is very much a profound honor of mine to recognize Patrick with this year's Lifetime Achievement Award, again, presented posthumously in appreciation of all that he has done for West Seattle. He was co-founder of the West Seattle blog, helped create something far greater than a local news site. I think we're all aware of that in West Seattle. Alongside his wife and co-founder, Tracy Record, built a platform that has informed, connected, and reflected our community in real time, every hour of every day. I'm just so proud of this organization. We're going to clap a few times, I think. It's something really special. I myself, if you didn't know it, I am a news broadcaster. I have been for more than 30 years. And this type of blog doesn't exist in other communities. It's really true. And I'm honored to talk about Patrick as a colleague too, because he was someone who really understood news. And there's a few different things that come to mind for me. I remember when we were talking about this award a few weeks ago, I was talking with Claiborne Bell brought this up in a meeting. He had, if you weren't aware of it, I think we all remember it, but Claiborne's business establishment, there was a fatal shooting there in the fall of last year. And it was very difficult for everybody in the community, especially Claiborne. There he was, right? Awful time. And Patrick came to that scene, as did all the other news crews, right? And all the other news crews were in there getting their shot, trying to figure out where Claiborne was. And Patrick was the one who came over and talked to Claiborne and told him what was going on and told him what that whole news story cycle was about, and had that hand on his shoulder and was there for him to explain what was happening, because it's very difficult in the heat of the moment to understand how many people want to know about this and how many people want to be informed. And so I really felt that Patrick, in so many different ways, understood that news and news stories, it's not about the actual event, it's about the people. It's about the people it affects. And I think there's a strong awareness of that in everything that West Seattle Blog puts out. I'm very appreciative of that. I think his legacy definitely lives on here. And I have to say, over his 17 years working for the blog, I think Patrick really did shape how West Seattle sees itself. And I hope you see that in that way too. A life of service, he showed up for everything. The other story I'll relate is I've been able to announce the West Seattle Parade for the past several years, which is a lot of fun. And Patrick is always there. He was always there at the Loop too. West Seattle Blog has been a proud sponsor for many years. But I'd always count on Patrick to know when that first police motorbike would show up, right? He's like, is it happening yet? He's like, no, wait just a minute. And then 5 minutes later, can we say something? No. And sure enough, I don't know if he had his spies out there on the course or what, but he would know within 10 seconds of when that first motorcycle would show up, and he'd say, now. And he just had a really great awareness of what community was all about, of what news was all about, and about what connecting people was all about. So really had an unwavering commitment to that, and has given West Seattle the gift, I think, of connection and context and understanding. I know that I will miss his presence, his sometimes irascible humor, and his humanity definitely will be missed, and he'll be very much remembered. I just want to say, I want to honor the remarkable legacy of Patrick Sand. As difficult as it is to reckon with his death, what a great life to celebrate. Tracy, can I ask you up, please? Would you mind?
Thank you all, that's very kind. There's just a couple things more I wanted to say about Patrick and Brian. That was absolutely brilliant. Although the other half of that is, yes, he did have a spy. It was me. That's part of what teamwork was. When we went out to cover the parade, there'd be the two of us, and Patrick would go down to near where Brian and his wife Krista were announcing the parade, and I'd stay up near the head of the parade, at Admiral and well, just south of Admiral in California, because among other things, I would get to see, as everybody rolled out, as Jim Edwards and Michelle Edwards directed it. But anyway, I just want to say a couple things. There's a fair amount of people here that may have founded their businesses in the last 17 years, so you're not really aware of how we started. I won't tell you our whole origin story, but some people aren't even aware that WSB is a business. And that's why we've been able to do this, is because we've sold advertising. That's been our sole source of revenue. No rich relatives, no life savings, anything like that. And I went back and looked at our interface page just now, and since the mid-2000s, we've published 74,678 stories. The interesting thing about that is that then the ones that are tagged business, 3,424. So that's been a really large part of what we've covered. There's a new business coming, there's a business that sadly is closing, the business community is coming together for something, there's events like this, and that's always important. But a couple of things about Patrick, because this is really about my husband. Last night at the Admiral Neighborhood Association, where they're presenting an annual award now in Patrick's honor, Dan Jacobs pointed out that Patrick's strength, besides what he did out covering news, was that he also worked in unseen ways. He worked on the summer movie series that happened in the Junction every year for many years. He was basically part of the technical crew. So he would always have to get there early, and then we put on our coverage hats later. He also was on the West Seattle Art Walk Committee for a long time. And then during Summerfest, where we've had the honor of joining the Chamber and the Junction Association in the info booth, he would spend weeks ahead of time preparing an informational briefing of sorts for the folks that were going to be in the booth for the Junction Association and for other nonprofits. Something all the way down to, what do you do if a lost child shows up? And these are all things that we would never write about, that weren't mentioned, but he worked in so many different ways, and I really appreciate this honor on his behalf. I don't know what he'd be thinking up on the next point of existence, looking down and seeing what a fuss, although I do think still, speaking of the Matt Vaughn thing, the fact that Matt chose to put Patrick on the Easy Street marquee that's sort of the ultimate West Seattle honor, and again, involved one of our beloved local businesses. So thank you, and I wanted, our senatorian record stand had a few words to say too.
I'll try here not to give a full eulogy. I'm sorry for this, but if anyone can elongate it, surely I can contribute. If you'd ever heard Patrick speak, he might have mentioned that he grew up in Grand Junction, Colorado, which is very, very far away. Not one of the smallest places in the world, but much smaller than West Seattle. And in some ways, to me, he represented almost 3 generations. He was only roughly one and a half generations separated from miner families in the Great Rocky Mountains, the same that might have gotten black lung or disappeared down a long shaft. And his father himself finally sort of was growing into the burgeoning middle class of the post-World War II era, becoming a pharmacist. And there's always this conflict that he had between a small community attempting to branch out forward. There's something that seems almost profoundly self-sacrificial, because for as much as I ever heard him speak, he hated Grand Junction, Colorado. The fact that he came to this sort of lifestyle where, after attempting to exit a small town and go into the city and end up becoming a journalist himself again, contributing to an extremely small community, is something that he himself felt a great deal of conflict over, but also made him a great man because of that conflict. There is something which is just so profoundly self-sacrificial that I cannot possibly describe it, in the sense that there was almost sort of a loss of ambition for him to do it, and yet it was the greatest ambition he could have had. And I think, too, now in an era where especially people from my generation have critiqued the quote-unquote baby boomers for being a sort of self-aggrandizing and self-serving generation, that he stood very much against that in almost every facet. There's something about him that always wanted to give back to the community in a very strong and full manner. And as we were pointing out about this award from what Dan Jacobs' comments yesterday, it was almost behind the scenes. He was an extremely and incredibly humble man who almost never wanted to be the public face, but was always there, willing to offer a hand for anyone who asked for it. It is a great loss to not be able to see him, but he sets a fantastic precedent for the future, and I think truly represents a bridge between that older America, West past, and the contemporary. We can never get him back, but I hope that he is not too mortified by receiving this award in heaven.